So, what do you do when your family disowns you because you can't get a grasp on the fire magic that your lineage is known for? Do you A. become a bum on the street and beg for money? Or B. master an entirely different form of magic and come back years later to kick your dad's teeth in? If you answered B, good job, you've got a backbone, just like the protagonist of the anime Kaze no Stigma.
I did it! I beat him! How about that, old man? This so-called weakling just kicked your ass!
Translated, that's Stigma of the Wind, but considering that I always saw it listed as the former, that's what I'll be referring to it as. But what is this series about? Good question, my keen-minded friend.
Good question.
As mentioned previously, our protagonist, Kazuma Kanagi, was disowned by his parents because he couldn't succeed at using the fire magic that his family is renowned for. He should have been in line to be the next head of their family, but because he didn't have it in him to use fire, his family kicked him out. A bit harsh, don't you think? Just a smidly little idly bit? Not to mention that they didn't intervene when the other kids in their branch families bullied him relentlessly. Honestly, Kazuma turned out better than I would have. The only thing he was given was a credit card by his mother before she slapped him down. Cut to the present day, and Kazuma has returned to Japan, only now he's mastered wind magic. And his skills far outstrip just about everyone else in their own elements. He even changed his family name to Yagami. Not long after he returns, though, members of the Kanagi family start getting killed off, and all evidence points to wind magic being used. Was it Kazuma, or someone setting him up to take the fall? Well, you'll just have to find out for yourself.
You are dead! Not a big surprise!
Kazuma puts up a front of being entirely pragmatic, only interested in offering his tremendous power to the highest bidder. And for the most part, this is true. However, he's not completely heartless. He does care a great deal about his younger brother, and he won't harm innocents. He is brutally honest though, and makes sure he deals with others on his own terms. And given what happened to him, I can't say that I fault him for it, even if I wouldn't behave that way. Also, move over, Konosuba. When I hear the name Kazuma, this is the show I think of.
Kazuma's going with you.
But why, Father?
Great. So what'll you pay me?
Huh?
Sure, I said I'd help rescue Ren, but I never said I'd do it for free. Anyway, I understand if you want to blame me, so you can go ahead and use the blade you've got hidden in your sleeve. You're absolutely right, Ayano. As much as I wanted to, I didn't have the power to protect her.
Neither of us could. I couldn't do anything for her.
We need to stay strong now.
How? It's not possible!
Nice try. But wind magic can summon spirits faster.
Our deuteragonist is Ayano Kanagi, a distant cousin of Kazuma. After Kazuma was disowned, she was the next in line to become head of the family, which she will inherit when the current head of the family dies. She played a large part in Kazuma's banishment, as she beat him in a duel to inherit the family sword in Raiha. She had no problem with fire magic, and isn't slow to use it. Magic-using families are often called upon to deal with the supernatural, and she takes this very seriously, even if she's not quite ready to deal with some of them. Ayano is hot-headed and tends to lash out at even the slightest provocation, though she can be compassionate and the voice of restraint when Kazuma is aloof or abrasive. Her abilities grow throughout the show's length, though she never quite matches Kazuma's level of power. Her weapon, in Raiha, is also an interesting design. While this show is set in Japan, this weapon doesn't match any common style of Japanese swords. We do see a fire magic user from abroad challenge Ayano for it, so this makes me wonder if this weapon originated from some other land. It's also made of wood, which is something that seems a bit odd at first glance, but its true power is to purge evil spirits rather than being used like a normal blade, which ties back into Ayano learning different forms of fire magic as she becomes more adept. But we do have to address the elephant in the room. The current head of the family, Jugo Kanagi, never approved of Kazuma being disowned, but it was ultimately up to Kazuma's parents to make that call. But now having seen just how powerful Kazuma has become, he wants Kazuma back in the family, no matter what his parents decreed. So he subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, tries to set Kazuma up to fall for Ayano.
Brother,
Is this odd? Yes. Now, while their relation is distant enough for them to not share that much genetic information, this is unusual.
I can't even get close to her, much less dodge her attacks. That's it. He is so dead.
Hey, been having fun?
It's not them.
If you ask me, you're a stubborn, spoiled brat.
I am not!
Once you've made up your mind about something, you won't change it even if all the evidence proves you're wrong.
What? Take that back!
What are you gonna do now?
What?
Your strategy. How exactly are you gonna rescue him from his own past?
Strategy?
Oh, great.
Well, I hate to disappoint you, but if you think I'm intimidated by your virtual fire magic, you're crazy. And I promise you this much, I'll die before I hand over the sacred name and title of the Kanagi clan to some random family.
The third and final member of the main trio is Kazuma's little brother, Ren. He looks up to and idolizes Kazuma, and often has to step in when Ayano starts lashing out at him. Ren also uses fire magic, though he lacks the bombastic and aggressive nature of Ayano. Instead, he typically excels at the purification form of the art, and uses it a number of times throughout the series. He has the biggest heart out of the three, as Kazuma is mostly out for himself, and Ayano can get too caught up in fighting enemies, perceived or otherwise. Ren is the one who keeps things from going too far, but don't let that fool you. He's definitely capable of holding his own in a fight, even against those who are stronger than he is. He makes up for his youth and inexperience by being crafty. Multiple times will enemies underestimate him, only to be caught off guard by his strategies.
She's putting her life on the line to be with you. So what are you gonna do to be with her?
That's an easy question with an obvious answer! I'm gonna annihilate that beast! But I can't do it alone!
no way! The kid just turned the sand into magma!
I bet you didn't know a fire magic user could control magma, did you?
It's impolite not to introduce yourself first when you're an unwanted guest in another man's house, young man.
After what you've done, the last thing a person like you deserves is politeness. Back off! And if you know what's good for you, you'll turn around and walk away!
Who are you?
So as for scoring, I would give this a 6 in terms of objectivity. It generally stays within its own level of realism, but certain aspects will waver, such as whether or not characters are allowed to use magic in front of civilians, or downplaying scenarios that would result in many bystander casualties.
You're not gonna fight me yourself, is that it? You're just gonna drop part of a building on me? Fine, bring it on, you coward! I'm the inheritor of Uriah! How dare you underestimate me?
Sometimes the main three just power through enemies that have been beyond generations of magic users, which is a bit off-putting. The series can also be a little exposition heavy at times as well. Subjectively, I would give this a 7. It was fun to go back through this show, and I had thought that my memories of it were distorted by the rose-tinted goggles of nostalgia. Though I was pleased to see that I was just as engaged this time around. This was just a plain fun series to watch. The first half is more action-oriented, while the second half is much more laid back before the ending arc, and has much more comedy. Though we also never get to see anyone use water magic, which is my favorite element, but fire, air, and earth do get a good showing. Sadly, this series had to be cut short, as the author of the manga, Takahiro Yamato, passed away before it could be completed. This is just a crying shame, as this series set up many elements that then can't be paid off because of this. I really would have liked to see where this series went, but unfortunately we will never know. But what we were left with in this show was an enjoyable ride that I would recommend if you get the chance. But what do you think about this show? Have you seen it, or read the manga that it's based off of? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a like on this video if you're so inclined, and subscribe to see more. I would like to thank you for watching, and may you all have a weapon in each hand.